Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Sunday of the Petty Crew Radio Show. I'm your boy Boss Hogg, host of the Petty Crew Radio Show, and as usual, all the way from San Antonio, Texas, I have my special guest co-host, my ride or die, this beautiful young lady, Diamond, holding it down with me. What's good, Diamond?
Hey, I'm awesome to be here. Today's an exciting day. I just want to shout out to everybody and thank you guys for joining us. I can't wait to talk to you later on in the show.
Listen, we have a great show lined up for you guys. Again, thank you to everybody who is tuned in to today's show. For you guys who are watching the news, the Senate has just passed a $1.9 trillion uh, economic impact bill, aka a coronavirus bill, whatever it is or however you choose to call it. Um, Joe Biden has finally did something that is impactful in the beginning of his presidency. We're also going to talk about the situation that's going on with the University of Texas. For you guys that don't know, right now they're in the middle of some controversy behind their Eyes of Texas song. We're going to also jump into a conversation about um, is it appropriate for a non biological parent to be called dad or mother. I'm in a Facebook group. A gentleman posted a status, uh, and I'm gonna post that picture shortly. And he was basically asking the group, um, should he feel some type of way about his ex-wife, boyfriend of 10 years, apparently claiming himself to be a dad, and his daughter's also wearing this T-shirt, kind of recognizing him as her dad, and so that caused some little controversy in communication. Also, we're going to jump into a situation that happened in a Louisiana restaurant where a black couple was profiled and automatically gratuity was added to their bill. And so they noticed it. They thought it was kind of crazy, and it caused a big uproar. And that company had to go back to that black couple and apologize for their actions. So again, we have a great show lined up. Um, Thank you for liking. Make sure you please share today's live. With that being said, let's jump right into it. For you guys who have uh, been watching the news, again, the Senate has passed a $1.9 trillion COVID relief bill. Now, for a lot of you guys, what does that mean? That means that we're going to be getting a $1,400 check. Let me say that again because somebody needs that $1,400. Shout out to my girl, Nikki Seastrunk. Appreciate you for checking in. Please make sure you like and share today's show. So, again, we don't want to talk about this too long, but I did want to acknowledge the fact that we do have money for us regular common folks. We do have money that's coming on the way. And it's particularly important for people who have children. It's also particularly important for people who are still suffering from their job losses. And so I just want to hit on it a little bit before we get the story, before we get today's show going. It says the Senate passed a 1.9 trillion coronavirus relief package yesterday, capping off a marathon overnight session after Democrats resolved internal clashes that threatened to derail President Joe Biden's top legislative priority. As he did state from the beginning, and I think this is what kind of pushed Georgia to vote the way they voted, which was is that he promised that you would receive $2,000. Now, what he did say is that it will be equal to $2,000. For you guys that got that 1,600, that 1,400 plus, of course, $600 will make $2,000. So again, that money is on the way. It goes on to say that the far-reaching legislation includes 1,400 stimulus checks, 300 per week jobless benefits through the summer. It also includes a child allowance of up to 3,600 for 1 year, 350 billion for state aid, 34 billion to expand Affordable Care Act subsidies, and 14 billion for vaccine distribution. And again, I'm not going to read the whole article. You can find it and look it up yourself. But I did want to hit on a couple of things that is important to people who have children. And so, what does this mean? You're going to get 1,400 for those that are qualified, and that honestly is most Americans up until a certain point. If your adjusted gross income is up to 7,500, you will receive 1,400. Now, let me explain that. Just because you make 75,000 a year, you can still have an adjusted gross income less than 7,500. You have to read your taxes after your tax preparer do them to understand what I mean by that. In other words, it's not saying because you make 75,000 a year you can get it, or if you make over it you can't. Again, it is about your adjusted gross income, in which you can see on your taxes. And then I believe for a couple, it caps off at 150,000. Now, what's important about this bill again is for the people who have children. In a nutshell, it's going to work like this. So if you have a child who is up to 6 years old, and you have one child, that child tax credit goes up to $3,600. Again, if you know anything about Texas right now, for every child is like $2,000 or something to that extent. And you will be receiving monthly payments for 6 months, basically until December. So sometime in July, for you guys that have children, you should see a check in the range of $300 to $600, depending on how many children you have. So if you have children and your children are under the age of, we're going to say 17. So what's 3,000 plus 3,000? That's $6,000. Of that 6,000, you're going to get a check, probably an amount for 6 months of $600. That's part of your child tax credit that you would normally claim in the following year. In other words, in 2022, they're just going to pay you a portion of that to help you to the end of the year. Then when you do your taxes, you'll still feel your taxes as normal and still claim your regular child tax credit. It'd probably be short because they paid you in advance what they would have given you in the following year. And again, that's going to help a lot of families who are struggling, again, for parents who probably still haven't got a job, people who are working in low wage jobs. It's definitely going to help. So I would advise anybody who is going to get these checks to be mindful how you spend this money. Because in other words, that little 8,000 or 9,000 that you think you go get in 2022 will be drastically lower than what you will get, because again, they're going to give you a portion of that child tax credit that you normally just claim in the following year. So with that being said, again, man, make sure you guys pay attention, be on the lookout, make sure you get your information, you got your direct deposit set up correctly with the IRS, because you don't want anything to happen in receiving your money. Again, we're also in the middle of tax season. So you got the IRS who's trying to do tax refunds and process taxes. And then at the same time, they're still trying to incorporate giving you all this extra money within the same time. So just make sure that your information is correct. With that being said, man, let's keep it moving. As stated earlier, if you're on my social media page, the University of Texas right now is in the middle of a controversy. It's very simple for you guys who haven't been following it. And I'm only bringing this up because I am a University of Texas Longhorns fan, avid football fan of the University of Texas. And so what has been coming out is that an email from rich donors basically threatened to pull donations if the song is dropped. If you play sports, after every victory, after every loss, the school song is played. Now, I remember my school song because I played sports. Of course, you're going to hear it all the time. But for people who are not they don't sing the song often. They really don't know how the school song is. And however, the University of Texas has a song that is kind of rooted in racism, in bigotry, and like I said, in a nutshell, uh, white rich donors, alumni, are threatening to pull their money, their support, if the school pulls the song. Diamond, you've read the article. What are your thoughts on this situation?
Man, so first of all, I guess you kind of have to go with the history of the song and know that it actually stems from back in the day when they had the minstrel shows. That song was actually one of the things they did at the University of Texas with the black faces, as well as being a part of, the Confederate when we were having those times as well. So I think all of that, we're changing. And at the end of the day, people have to realize, and I'm big on saying, some things are just history and that's what it is. But in this particular situation, you have so many new diverse students that go to this school and that play football for this school. And you have to think about, what does this song mean to them? How does it make you feel when you're standing out there and you're in this game and this song that is very offensive to your nature and to your culture is played? So I think, these, of course, like you said, they're rich white people. And we know a lot of, not all of them, but we know a lot of those people stem from the actual racism. And at the end of the day, it's time that we change. We call ourselves working on this racial issue that has become more prominent in these days and times. And the song needs to go. Now, granted, Texas is going to have to find other ways and other means of financing, but the song needs to go. But also, the people that are threatening to pull their money, hey, you need to actually look at this and see where this is going as well. You need to realize that as America tries to make that change to get rid of some of the racial tension that we have going on, that's gonna, have to make some of the stuff go away. I do applaud the young men that decided, hey, I'm not standing out here while y'all play this song, because this exactly goes in line with what we went through with Colin. When he decided he wasn't gonna, when he decided to kneel. This is the same thing, and the funny part about it is he was forewarning us that a lot of people didn't take heed to. He was giving us a forewarning of, hey, this is what's going on, and this is what it's gonna take. And as African Americans, we have to tend to stand our ground. It's a shame that we're in the 20th first century and we're still having to stand our ground and represent and be like, well, you're not going to treat me this way. But we have to continue to be true to ourselves and to our culture. And white America, you have to recognize, hey, we helped build this country. We are a force to be reckoned with. And there's a time when y'all are going to have to, just start paying attention. Like that song is outdated. That's not who we are as a people anymore. And it's gonna forever be in their history because it's written in a book. So it's not like we're erasing history. What we're saying is we recognize what this means to other cultures, and we're paying attention to that, and we're gonna recognize that and keep this song in the history books. But find us a new song that is more inclusive of the population that we serve on this campus now.
Well, and also we need to note that the president did acknowledge and state that they will keep the song. Also, we also need to acknowledge that there is from my understanding, is a 24-person committee who is doing research on the song. They will on Tuesday, which is March the 9th, they will release their findings regarding the Eye of Texas. Now, again, you have to, because there's so many different articles in different angles coming from this. There's one angle, and because what's happening is a lot of these emails are being released, and what we're seeing is in a lot of these emails, a lot of these donors are showing you that our weight carry It's big. Let's be real. A lot of influential people went to the University of Texas. I know a couple of athletes who come out of the city of Dallas who went on to play football for the University of Texas. What I want to ask and present to people who are watching is the question is should we be attending schools that we know have a history of racism behind it? I've said this before and I've said this several times on schools. We make these predominantly white schools financially rich. When you have a situation where you have, again, most of your donors and most of the people who are financially putting into these schools, you'll find out that they're white. And what I will say is that if we can't change the narrative between these schools and their racist history or perceived racist history, why should we have our sons and daughters go to these schools in the first place? I love what Deion Sanders is doing at Jackson State. I have been advocating for top athletes of color to start migrating to our HBCUs. One of the big misconceptions is as well, these bigger schools, have more publicity and they have better facilities. But then ask yourself, why is that the case? It's because you're sending your sons and daughters to schools to make them money. Why not send them to a Prairie View or Alcorn, to a Bethune-Cookman, to a Florida A&M, to a Hampton, to a Morehouse? I mean, the list is long. Norfolk State University, because if you are talented, you're going to go to any professional level. They're going to find you. It doesn't matter where you go. Just play ball and they will come to you. And in the same way you're drawing attention to these schools, you playing at these HBCUs, you're going to draw that same attention to them. They're going to pour money into want to watch it on TV and everything else. And so, again, why even go play at places where have a racist history in the first place? Secondly, I would say to the alumni, you can't have it both ways. This is a situation where, on one hand, you have, again, these white donors who are saying, hey, President, you need to stand up to these people because there's only a few of them. They don't know any better. They just there to go to school to do what they're supposed to do. But on the other hand, these same alumni would then turn around and get on athletic directors and tell them either you turn this program around or we still going to withhold money. And so what we see is these alumni try to hold schools hostage with their financial giving. Again, on one hand, you want us to win, you want us to excel, you want us to be great. But on the other hand, you're telling us, well, you need to stand up to them same students we want you to get the best of and let them know what we're not going to allow because we're giving money. And for you guys that don't know, the University of Texas is the Cowboys of college. They rank number one when it comes to bringing in money. They are number one on that list. They are the Cowboys of college when it comes to bringing in, jersey sales, sports in general. They're going to bring in the money, regardless how good they are, regardless how bad they are. And so again, I just say that to the parents. If we know the history, because again, it's just not the University of Texas. This is any school that has a history that's aligned with any form of white supremacy, any form of slavery, any form of suppression. Why send them there? Why? If these people are showing you who they are, and the truth is that these people are showing its students who they are. Why send them there in the first place? Diamond, I got a question for you. How do you feel? Because you have older children, and we're gonna say that. I will ask this: would you send your child to a school that has any racist history?
Okay, so let me say this in answering your question, because one son went to a HBCU and one son did not. When you say did not go to a HBCU, pretty much all of the, as we call them, PIWs, there's some type of racism that were in pretty much all of those schools somewhere in their history. And especially when you look at the names or whatever. So my baby boy just about a year ago graduated from Sam Houston State University. Yes, they have racism because if you know anything about Texas history and you know about Sam history, there was racial tension there. I myself graduated from Dallas Baptist University. However, at the time when I made my decision on the school that I was going to, I went to the school one that was close to me because I already had a family. I already had two young children and I was married at the time. So I picked my school based on what was convenient, what was best, and what was going to help me get through a process even faster. And that school offered it because they had an adult education program where actually I got 1 year of school into one semester from one class. So my decision was based off of personal. It had nothing to do with any racial tension or whatever. Now, I will say, while I was there, I didn't really go through racial tension, but honestly, I didn't have time because I was more focused on getting this piece of paper and taking care of my family. So I pretty much went to class and came home. When my son went to college at Sam Houston, he made his own choice. His choice was made as where he had built a rapport, and his choice was made by because actually he thought about going to Prairie View, but honestly, my son had a lot of friends at Prairie View, and his issue was I needed to separate myself to ensure that I don't hang out too much and that I don't do what I needed to do. And so his choice was based on his personal needs and where he was in life and what he know he needed to do because his mom put him on a timeline that says, hey, babe, you've been going to college a little bit, you know, he did a couple of extra years because he did what most kids do. Hey, I'm away from home, let me have some fun. So his decision was based on majority of all my friends are over here. I'm away from home, let me have some fun. So his decision was based on majority of all my friends are over here at this school. Let me go over here because at this time I need to go ahead and get my life together and graduate because I am a young adult, but I'm also on the verge that I'm entering what I call the real world because now you're having to pay your own bills and you're having to take care of yourself. So his decision was based on that. But I also knew his mindset and I knew he was strong enough to handle those racial tensions because he's been on the front lines with his mom from day one. I've never not forgotten who my heritage was. I've never not taught my boys, had the conversation, and they've been with me since they were children that went out to whether it was protesting, doing community service, or whatever. Many people know I belong to the Masonic world, and my boys did too. They were both Knights of Pythagoras, so they had the foundation and the grounding to be able to know what to do in those situations, sustain, and at the same time, honestly, my youngest son became a voice because if an issue was coming up, he's the type of person that he's gonna step in there and he's gonna help and he's gonna help guide each other. So I can't say, and I didn't pick his college because this is somewhere he was gonna have to go, and this is somewhere he's gonna have to be comfortable because he's gonna be there and he has to make his own path. I supported him in his decision, although giving my opinion and my options on where I think you should go. But at the end of the day, I wasn't that parent that was like, "No, you're gonna go to this college." I was the parent where you tell me, you know, let me guide you. Let's talk about it. Let's weigh these options out, and let's pick what you feel is best for you in your life. And that's exactly what he did. I supported him in his decision. We still do have those conversations because, like I said, he had a lot of friends at PV and he spent a lot of time there. His weekends, you know, they're not, the two universities are not that far from each other. So a lot of times he did actually go there and hang out with his friends. So we've had those conversations, and what we both realized is even though that's where he decided to go, he's still satisfied with his decision. But even as America changes, there are times that because he was that athlete, he was like, well, maybe I should have went here just to push my people even more, just to help my people even more. So as someone that has seen both sides of the field, my oldest son went to Wiley College. So as someone that had two kids in both, I will say that my mindset has definitely changed in the process, and especially with everything that we're going on now with the whole movement of, not that it's ever been dead, it's just that we're more active now because we've always had racial tension. It's just right now where we are in life, it's back up and it's showing its ugly head and it's ruined, and it's making those of us that was once in a comfortable situation no longer be in a comfortable situation. So I will say now that I am more prone towards my HBCUs. Like I even made a T-shirt, you know, in honor of HBCUs for Black History Month that says I love my HBCUs because I do. But I don't. For me at the time, I did what was good for me and in that setting and what I thought worked best because I had a different mindset when I went to college. My mindset was the world is not black. So I felt like if I didn't go to a predominantly Black college, that I would be more diverse in being able to function when I was in those situations. And maybe not always being a person that pulled the race card, but understanding the diversity of the different situations and be able to handle. Because in my workplace, it is not predominantly Black. In my surroundings, unless I'm actually in a community service event, they're not necessarily going to be predominantly Black. And that's one of the things I use when I weigh my issues. But I also think sometimes had I been to a HBCU, I would have also experienced a different Black America. I will say that I now have a friend, and she and I are both enrolling in a graduate level course, excuse me, at an HBC reason for that, at an HBCU college for that reason, and that is to understand what does it mean to go to a HBCU. What is that ownership? And also, that's another way that I can continue to give back to my community since I am going to grad school. I didn't do it in undergrad, but now, you know what? Let me go over here and take a course at this school. Let me go put some of my Black dollars. I have relatives that go to HBCU, so I do constantly donate, but I still stand in the decision that I made for myself at the time because that was what's best for me and that was what's best for my son and him making his decision.
Okay. Well, since you brought that up, and we'll get to that. But that was a comment made by, and shout out to Dios Patterson. He is the owner. We had him as a guest before. He's tuned in right now. He is the owner of Patterson Company clothing line. He's made a hoodie for me. He made a comment that was saying, I have to disagree with that, Steve. Alabama is the top of the crop. Texas just has a lot of millionaire alumni, and the people here in the state just goes to them. So, okay, I think maybe you're missing what we're talking about. So you guys who are just now coming in, we're talking about the controversy in which the university finds itself in, the University of Texas finds itself in with the playing of their school song, Eye of Texas. Even though the president has went on to say that they will keep the song, they put together a panel of 26 people to form a committee who's going to do research on this song to bring the facts to the people, and that will be released March the 9th. With all the controversy going on, you have the alumni who in return have sent hundreds of emails stating that the president should stand, in keeping it, and if they don't keep the song, they're going to stop paying. Hell, we find out that one lifetime alumni has only donated $50, and yet you want a whole email about why you should keep the song. And so what I was referring to, Dios, was the fact that the University of Texas is number one when it comes to the finances of their whole athletic department. Yes, Alabama will be the cream of the crop when it comes to playing football, but they're not even in the top 5 in their financial, in athletics, financially. They're not even in the top 5. And so here's what I'm talking about. As of 2018, 2019, these are the top 5 college athletics, what schools in athletics made money. University of Texas brought in 223,879,781. Let me say that again. $223 million. Fuck it. I'm not going to keep just going through the whole number. Texas A&M University brought in 212 million. The Ohio State University 210. University of Michigan 197. University of Georgia 174. And so what I'm speaking of is the amount of money in which these universities bring in every year. Again, the University of Texas is the Cowboys when it comes to money. The Cowboys suck, but when it comes to them and their memorabilia, when it comes to bringing in money, the Cowboys are the epitome of the NFL when it comes to the amount of money they bring in for the sport of football. And the University of the University of Texas as a whole bring in more money in athletics than any school in the country. And so that's what we're speaking of. Now, Diamond stated, the reason why, her kid went to the school, he went to, and why she went to the school she went to, if you're just a student who just want to go to school for one particular reason, and that's just say, for instance, the University of Texas has the best nursing department, medically, that is the cream of the crop. And if you as a student, get elected, go there for that reason, that's great. However, if you know you're going to be vocal and conscious, then what I'm saying is you have to make a decision on, if you know the history of that school, if you know how they are, what I simply ask is, why go to that school? Your voice for a hot 4 years is not going to change centuries of a narrative and a culture. You're there for a hot 4 years or however long you're attending that school. That history is going to continue is basically what I'm saying. And that's to anybody that's watching. If your child is going to be vocal and for instance, is going to speak up on campus, then, well, what you have to decide is what I'm saying is you have to decide on, well, is this the place for you? Yes, you might find different voices that agree with you to push an issue, but as we're seeing with people who have millions of dollars who are actually giving to the school, which voice is louder? The voices that actually keep these programs at the University of Texas going, or the people who are going in debt behind a school that costs, hundreds of thousands of dollars to attend, is what I'm saying. You have to weigh which one is, as that old saying goes, you have to pick your battle. You're fighting against men and women who are prominent people out of the University of Texas versus, a segment of students. And so what I'm saying to parents, especially people of color, I'm saying to parents, that's what you need to weigh. If the goal is to get to the next level in professional sports, what I'm saying is that the University of Texas might not be the way. Ohio State University might not be the way. Alabama University might not be the way, because what we do know to be true is that you can go to a Hall of Fame and you came out of a school called Mississippi Valley State University, and I'm speaking of none other than the great Jerry Rice. You can win a Super Bowl championship for the Redskins, watch the Redskins be the first black quarterback to take a professional NFL team to a Super Bowl and win it, and you can graduate out of Grambling University, is what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, if the goal is to go to the next level professionally, what I'm telling parents and students is, you don't have to do it in places where racism resides. HBCU teaches a whole different aspect. I don't think it has anything to do with what's fair and not fair in diversity. I think it has to do with you being around the people that look like you, that will help you get ready for the real world. Because what we do know is the statistics show it doesn't matter what school you go into, the changes start taking effect when you get out into the real world. In other words, a a gentleman who goes to an Ivy League university and a man of color goes to Morehouse. They're basically on the same level until they get into the real world. And so again, we're having a situation, like I said, with this alumni who's putting pressure on the University of Texas to stand behind their history. All I'm adding to the conversation and what I would want folks to think about is, why should we put our children in the situation in the first place? If for instance, that there's a history of racism and you will be treated a certain way depending on the school you go to, why even let them go there? It's just for food for thought to anybody that's watching. I just want people to think about it. And again, the key word is if we did not know how racist the national anthem was until it was brought to our attention. Because the truth is we only play one stanza of it at football games. You follow what I'm saying? We only play one stanza of it. We do not continue that whole song where it gets to the racist side of it, where it talks about the killing of slaves. That was brought about again, as Diamond stated, through the actions of Colin Kaepernick. We wouldn't have known it. Everybody was standing. We thought it was patriotic until again we dug into the history of it. But as it goes, once it's been brought to your understanding, then what? Do you continue to move in the same way, knowing that there's a racist history behind it, that it is talking about and bragging about the killing and recapturing of slaves? Or do you say, no, I'm just going to no longer sing that song in general? And before we go on to our next segment, one more comment from D.O. Patterson. He says, if the goal is to go to the next level, it is better to go to the other schools. Not saying you can't make it from an HBCU, but let's be clear, you have to have a better chance being a backup at Alabama or Florida than you do as a 4-year starter at PV or Grambling. And again, I'm going to have to disagree, Patterson. It's an ideal that we as African Americans have, that white is better. Essentially, that's what you're saying, my brother, that because Ohio State has a better facility, they have a grand stadium, they have state-of-the-art equipment, and all the bells and whistles, they are nationally seen on TV, then that gives a player a better opportunity to get to the league. I'm going to disagree with that. Why? Who are the people putting them in the position to be that way? I ask, because we've had this conversation and this argument before. I just simply continue to ask the same question. Who are putting them in the position to bring in the millions of dollars? It's people of color. With that being said, if the University of Texas have a problem with the men or the people of color, and even the white people who have joined with the people of color with a problem with this song, why don't the alumni just turn around and tell this athletic department to recruit nothing but white people? Why not have your whole football team be white athletes? You follow what I'm saying, Diamond? If you want people to go along to get along, why not just have your whole football team to be white? Why not have nothing but your black basketball team? Why not just make them all white athletes? The reason why the alumni won't push for that is because they know then they're going to lose. And who are they going to lose to? They're going to lose to Alabama or the schools that have black athletes. Okay, D.O. says, and again, we're going to keep it moving. D.O. says, no, I'm not saying white is better. I'm saying the infrastructure that's in place gives more light to Alabama and Florida than they do at PV. And again, in understanding that, that's just not true. Who are putting them in the position to have that infrastructure? It is black athletes. In other words, they're building their infrastructure off the black athlete. And so if the black athlete migrated to the HBCU, then guess who's finna build that infrastructure for the black HBCU? The black athlete. They're watching Ohio State because of the black athlete, not the white lineman. It's the black running back. It's the black wide receiver. That's who's doing it. If you look at the number of black athletes who are in the league from HBCUs, you'll be surprised. Matter of fact, look at how many black athletes are who are in the Hall of Fame that came from HBCUs. You're gonna be surprised. And so again, what's up, Diamond?
Well, not only that, the other reason is gonna be like you said, they're gonna lose. But the perspective is let's be real. They don't want us to know how they really feel. They don't really want us to know that they're racist until we force it out for them to have to come forth and say, yeah, I'm racist. Because just even when you think about the whole sport thing, and again, if we did as a culture decided, hey, you know what, we need to do what's best for the culture. So let's go back to the schools that a lot of us decided let's do away with. If you look at prime example, Jackie Robinson with 42. They went and got him because why did they go get him? Because of his talent and because of what he brought to the game. Mm-hmm. So again, yes, we do have the structure of the African American athlete, but I commend Dion on what he's doing, and it's gonna take all of us to take part into that and be like, you know what, at some point we're gonna have to go make sure that we're taking care of our own. A lot of times how I feel is that, up until now we kind of like just teeter-totter because we were comfortable. Let's just be real. We as a Black America, we were comfortable. We felt like we were reaching success because we see some of us that are millionaires. We see some of us reaching that ladder. So we're like, okay, if I just work a little harder, then you have the persona or the perception that we've been ingrained. If you work a little harder and don't think about race or anything, you're going to get to the top. You're going to make it. Not realizing that no matter how hard we work, there was some of us who always was going to be judged by the color of our skin. Some of us were still judged by the color of our skin, but we're going to be helped because, again, that white man needs to make a point. That white man needs to be like, well, we let one of them in, so yeah, we not holding y'all back. Y'all just need to work harder than so and y'all be able to get here too. So we have to, as a nation and as a culture, look at the whole big picture. And if we all did, and our young men that are coming up now, if we all, took it on ourselves and say, you know what, let's go back home. Let's go back to the HBCU. And when I say home, I mean HBCU because I don't know about anybody else, but my stance is America is my home because this is where I was born. I'm not looking at where my ancestors were born and how they came, because if you look at the color of my skin, I have both ancestors. I have the white ancestors and I have the Black ancestors, which they both came from somewhere else. They came from, someone was British and some of them were African. So when I say let's go back home, I'm speaking of home as right here in America, but going to what worked for us. Which in the beginning, why did we start HBCUs? Like you have the cushion of those HBCUs, and then you have the other ones, like when you just did the comparison between the two colleges, Morehouse, and I forgot whichever one you used, but you used the PWI as well as the HBCU. So as a whole, we have to govern and say, you know what, let me push this HBCU. Let me give them some more, which is like I stated before, I didn't go to an HBCU. But as I'm awakening more and more each day, I'm like, you know what? Let me go back over here. Let me go push this group. Let me go do this. Because guess what? This is where my culture is. This is my heritage, which is why I made the decision to go take a class here, which is why I donate to these schools, regardless if I went there or not. They stand for something in my life. What do they stand for? They stand for who I really am. They stand for my culture. They help other people in my culture get to the next level. So that's why I will continue to support them and have always. Again, like I said before, I made the decision that was best for me and my family at the time. But also recognizing that I have to help my people. I didn't forget where I come from. So when I'm in a position to do better, I do better. And when I'm in a position to help the next person, that's what I do. My life has always been about service to mankind, my sisterhood, my organizations, my community service. But there are times that I have to stop and be like, okay, who am I helping today? Who needs my help? And that help might be geared back towards, you know what, I need to go volunteer at this HBCU. I need to go volunteer over here and help this next generation. You know, I need to go volunteer at this particular school. I need to not be at the school where I work at, but I need to go find the kids that are in my culture and go make sure they're taken care of at their school. Because we even know in today's public school system, where you live depends and dictates the education you get. It dictates how much money that school is giving to make sure you survive. So we definitely as a people have to make sure that we stay aware of that and that we continue to help our culture and we continue to do what's best for our culture, but don't forget where we came from as we continue to do what's best for us on a personal level.
Gotcha. Now, listen. With that being said, man, we're gonna keep it moving again. Um, I will definitely be following it because, like I said, I am a fan of the University of Texas football. Um, and again, they will be releasing their report on this whole "I of Texas" song Tuesday from a committee that was formed at the University of Texas. Now, with that being said, we're gonna keep it moving. Another question, because this arose over the week, a couple of days ago in a group that I'm in, and basically boils down to: is it acceptable for a non-biological parent to be called dad or mother? And so right now I'm going to show you an actual post that was from one of the groups in which I'm in, and we're going to read it and we're going to jump into it for you guys who are looking. You see a picture. This is an actual picture of a post in which I screenshot that says, and you got to excuse the broken English, but this was a real post. It says, so my ex-wife's boyfriend of 10 years, he had a birthday yesterday. Cool. Okay. I live an hour away from them. Cool. But I see this pic from his B-day and I'm like, should I show up and show out? Because I feel this is disrespectful as fuck. That's what that F is for you guys that don't know. Or just be real, 40 years old and not. I've been in my daughter's life every day except deployment. So what make you think the thought process that is okay to do? Again, those are his words. You know how it is when we're typing. So for you guys that are watching, apparently, this gentleman right here is the boyfriend of to his ex-wife, of the poster's ex-wife. This is his daughter. The shirt says, this guy is one awesome dad. The poster's daughter has a shirt that says, this guy is one awesome dad. In a nutshell, as you can see from the post, he didn't know he felt he was disrespected, but he posted in our group and wanted to get our thoughts on how we felt about it. And then I thought about it. I was like, well, that raises another question of, is it acceptable for a non-biological parent to be called mother or father? Diamond, talk to me. What you think of this?
I think it's acceptable according to the bonding relationship between the child and that non-biological parent. I say parent because they're in a position where they're helping raise their child, they're helping to parent their child. I personally do not feel like it's something that should be forced. Like, I don't think the mother should be like, okay, this is my boyfriend, call him dad, and vice versa. And I also don't feel like the parent that's not in the picture should be like, oh, don't call them dad. I strongly believe it goes on the relationship that the child has built with the non-biological parent. I've definitely been in that situation before. I've definitely seen both sides. And to me, it's not a matter of whether you're in that child's life or not. The child can, it's okay to have two dads. It's okay to call both of y'all dads as long as they built a relationship and that's what they choose to do and that's what we're both doing. I know as a parent, we tend to sometimes get territorial and we tend to get maybe offended with that situation. And especially, I know a lot of women who personally have gotten upset because their child called the step parent or whoever mom, and they're telling, I'm always going to be your mom. But I think as parents, we have to sit back and allow that child to have their relationship and understand that more than one person can love my child. I
Hmm.
and I think you, and for me personally, I haven't had to have someone else to be that way with my kids because they were honestly, when I remarried, my children were pretty much grown. My youngest son was in college. So their relationship, of course, was going to be way different. For one, my son was already gone to college living on campus. So he didn't really have to live in the house with me and my husband, except for like a semester or something like that. So of course it was there's not gonna be any disrespect, but he probably wasn't necessarily gonna call him dad due to where he was in life and when they met versus a child that's in school, elementary, and things of that nature. But one thing I know from working with children, knowing children, a child is not just gonna go call another person mom or dad unless that connection is there, unless they feel secure with that person and knowing that this person has my best interest at heart. This is someone I can go talk to. So I feel like as a parent, I want to know that my child has someone else they can go talk to, that I can trust and know that they're gonna steer them right and not tell them anything bad in case they can't come to me. Sometimes they might not feel comfortable in coming to me because maybe I don't always think outside the box. Because I could be that ABC parent just like it's this way and only that way. So to know that my child has another adult that I can actually trust and know that they care about my child and they're not gonna try to hurt them, that's a win for me. That's a plus for me. And I feel like that, as adults, sometimes we gotta put our feelings out the side and not be like, oh, they're calling somebody else mom. Trust that if they're calling somebody else mom, that they have built a relationship or they see something in that person that resembles what you are to them. I have a couple of students that actually call me mom, and I don't have to correct them because she's like, I'm sorry, miss. I know you're not my mom. She goes, but you have such that mama character in you that sometimes I slip and say mom because you remind me of my mom. So, as adults, we have to realize that and we have to be willing to be like, you know what? At least my child has someone else they can go to that's not that looks out for their best interest. So as adults, I say put your feelings to the side and understand and realize that one thing about children that they do more than adults is they discern spirit. And children know if it's a good person or a bad person for the most part. So they're not gonna just call any and everybody mom and dad because that means something to them. So that means that that person they've chosen to give that title to is good to them. It's looking out for their best interest and they built a good relationship. And I think we should allow them to have that relationship, and if you in your feelings and feeling some kind of way, then you might need to step up your play. You might need to, make sure. Because saying I pay money and being in my child's life, but what does that mean? When you say you're in somebody's life, are you at every game? Are you at every time they're rushed to the hospital or rushed to the doctor? Are you taking off work too? Because a lot of times when you have that person that's with the custodial parent, that person they're with, they're stepping in there. And it's not to say you're a bad person or you're not. It's just to say because you're not always in a household, some things aren't as easy for you to do. You might not always be able to make it to that doctor's appointment or make it to that game due to scheduling, last minute notifications, and just life. So respect, in fact, and enjoy and know that your child has a village. Your child has someone else that they can count on, and don't take it as in being negative. Don't take it as in your child or that person is disrespecting you. Take it in that my child loves me, but my child also loves them. And evidently, 9 times out of 10, that person loves my child too, and it's also someone else that my child has in their corner.
Okay. Yeah, you said all that shit, and that was talking straight from a mom and female um point of view. Um, where I agree on some sides of it, that was just a straight female point of view.
Hey,
I
I
get it.
am
I
a
mean, hey, I
female.
get it. I listen. I get it. I understand where you're coming from. Um, this is where men and women are different, and we got to be honest. If it was the shoe was on the other foot, I don't know too many women who would be cool with a father with their children recognizing another woman as mama. That's just the truth. And so that's why I said I hear you talking. However, realistically, um, in reverse, a woman would truly have a problem if their child called the ex-husband's new wife, girlfriend, mama. That's
Right.
women. That's a territorial. And so what we have to recognize is, guess what? Men are no different. Men are no different. I can tell you exactly what I said to this post. So again, I want to address the post, and then we went into. I also want to add: is it acceptable to call the non-biological parents mother or father? So to this picture, for you guys that are watching, this is from a group that I was in, or that I'm in. This is a group that is comprised of nothing but black fathers. This is an all-male group. And as you see the post. This is from a gentleman who basically felt some type of way after seeing. This is a picture of the ex-wife boyfriend. And mind you, 10 years, in which I question right there. Of 10 years, not husband, not it didn't say wife's husband of 10 years. It says ex-wife boyfriend of 10 years. And so I even questioned that right there. And this is the guy's daughter. I initially told this brother he had every right to feel some type of way, because guess what? We have the right to feel how we want to feel emotionally. If he saw this and it made him feel some type of way, I also have to recognize that as a father who, for whatever reason, mother's not together and he is still in this child's life, he should feel some type of way. He just could. One thing that we do, and I've even seen it happen to me, is that we disregard the feeling of fathers. We disregard the feelings of men. And so for this man to express himself, regardless of if he feel right or wrong, that's not for me to determine. I still have to acknowledge he has every right to feel the way he felt emotionally behind seeing this picture. What I stated to him is that because I think the story went on when it went into the father part of it, being called dad or whatever. If you're putting in work in any type of relationship with your child, at the end of the day, you're the only father. And what I mean by that is that yes, this gentleman can come in and help the mother, and technically he becomes, because technically he's nobody to her. Let me acknowledge that real quick. See, when it says, so my ex-husband's boyfriend, in real life, you're recognized either as husband, wife, stepmother, stepfather. You're not recognized as dad because you're dating kid's mother. If I'm dating a woman this young lady in my life is not recognized as my children's stepmother because she's decided to be a part of my life. Well, guess what? I come with a package. I have children, but that does not qualify them or put that title on them. And so I want to acknowledge that to the people that are watching. This brother didn't say this is the husband because that changes the dynamics of everything. He said this is the boyfriend of 10 years. So apparently, ex-wife has been dating, been in a committed relationship with her boyfriend, and boyfriend and girlfriends are not recognized nowhere on any legal documentation. Hence, it goes back to what I'm saying in the fact that he has every right as the father, as the man who helped create this young lady, as the man who is still taking care of his responsibilities toward this little girl. And so again, I recognize that. I won't go as far as to say I'm disrespected, but I will say one thing, and I just put myself in a real life scenario. I wish I was ever around my children and my kids' significant other and my child recognize a man as father. It's not going to go well. I'm telling you how it's not going to go well. In other words, let me say it again who didn't understand that. I wish I was at a birthday party. I have an older son. Y'all seen my pictures of prom pictures taken together. My kid's mother and her husband was there. I wish my son would call another nigga daddy. And legally, he's stepdaddy. I wish my daughter would address another man as my daddy. When your daddy is here, your real father is here. Can y'all help raise children? Yes. But see, it's only one person that's going to be called daddy around here. Now, somebody might disagree with me, and you have the right to do so. But in my universe with my babies, the only person that's going to be verbally recognized as daddy with two men around is going to be me. I don't care who around, because that's just really the reality of it. Typically, when we see a situation, since we going into the daddy thing, and if it's okay, as usual, whatever floats your boat is whatever floats your boat. We're working your home, however. But I can say this from somebody who was raised by a non-biological father. My mother been married for years. Whereas I recognize him as my father, I call him by his name. Why? Because I was never required to call him daddy. The truth is when a child calls another parent by that, it's through direction. It's no different than me, my mother introducing me to a man and saying this is his name. My mother has never told me to call my daddy. Now, let me make sure again, I say this clearly so it can be understood. I don't consider my stepdaddy. That's my daddy. But I call him by his name because that's what I was raised to do. You follow what I'm saying? My mother didn't say you need to call him daddy because your daddy is not around. And we're talking about the same woman who has never spoken negative about my biological father ever. Matter of fact, I'm gonna be beat over the head behind it. When I want to go off on my kid's mother because they being silly and shit, I'm having to be brought back to reality and saying, when have you ever heard me, going off on yours? When have you ever seen me? That's not something that I taught you. And so I might have a different perspective when it comes to the whole non-biological parent being called, I didn't say recognized, but being called mother, father. Why? Because that's not something that my mother placed on me and my brother. My mother didn't force us to recognize him as your daddy. She didn't do that with us. And so what I've seen 9 times out of 10 is that that's something that has been said to the child and how that guy should be addressed. Now, again, in this picture, in this scenario only, we see that this brother is not even the husband, he's just the boyfriend. And so boyfriend don't get father privileges just because you're around. Because again, we have to recognize that this is not husband. So he's not stepdaddy. And it's not a knock to the father. It's not a knock to the gentleman in this picture. I also want to make that clear. I don't fault him, because he could be a great man to this young girl. He could. But again, let me not say but. I recognize though the father has feelings as well, is all that I'm saying. We cannot look past his feeling as the actual father to this young lady. And again, for you guys who are chiming in, we're talking about a real life situation that transpired in one of my groups, which is a group of nothing but black fathers. And this was posted maybe a couple of days ago in the group. And he wanted to get our thoughts about it. And I thought that it was worthwhile for us to speak on today's show. So again, I'm sure you've seen it. I've had it up for a while. I would like to know you guys' thoughts on, do you think it's acceptable for a child or a non-biological parent to be called mother, father? It says, but I don't understand. I'm going back to the comments. I guess it says, but I don't understand that man's point. We are territorial and ego-driven to not want your children calling another man dad. Well, that's true, but would be the makeup of men, the same way mothers are territorial of their children. And I can prove that by, I see it all the time. I hear a lot of women saying, well, the love of a mother is totally different than the love of a father. It's not scientifically proven, but that is a narrative that's pushed. And I always ask women, what will make you think your love is somehow greater than a father's love for a child? I mean, y'all both are parents. Y'all both had to help create the child. Distinctively makes it to where you think. And so I got it. And I would like this question answered. Is it because you carried them 9 months? Well, you wouldn't be carrying a baby if it wasn't for me. You should treat me like a god. If I want to be, because biologically you can't create a child with just any man. It is biology. That's why people can get married and they never have a child together. She can move on, date another man, get in a relationship, have a baby with that child, because it's biological. It wasn't intended for you to have a child with that other gentleman. And so, where I understand what you're saying, Dios, however, regardless of men and women being territorial, because that will go both ways. Men and women have egos, that's not just exclusive to men. Like I said, I have to respect his feelings as a father. He has every right to kind of feel some type of way, that's just my thought about it. What's up, D?
So let me just tell you that his comment, you said that he doesn't, but he actually said, but I do understand the man's point. So he didn't say that he don't understand.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
He do understand. So y'all kind of were saying the same thing, that he was elaborating by talking about the territorial and ego, which women are territorial and women are egotistical too. There are going to be some moms that have the same stance that you have and say, but my child isn't going to call another woman mom. You're going to see that both ways. Just like how you said with your stepdad, my oldest son, he calls his stepdad dad. But he wasn't introduced that, hey, this is your daddy, or to call him daddy. That was a decision on his own that one day we just noticed he transitioned. And because he did the transition, no one corrected him and said, nah, this is not your dad, or don't call him dad, because he knew who his daddy was. He knew who his stepdad was. but he made a conscious decision to call his stepdad dad. So
Yep.
it wasn't like that's how he was introduced to him. That's just what happened. Again, me being the only child, I'm very territorial. I'm very egotistical. But as who I am and the woman I've evolved into, I know I probably wouldn't like it, but at the same time, I'm not gonna be. I'm not the person that's gonna tell my child, "Oh, you can't call her mom." I'm not gonna be that parent. And again, we're all different. This is me. This is my personal opinion. I'm sure knowing how I am built and made, in the beginning, I'm going to have issues. In the beginning, it's going to bother me because then I'm going to start questioning different things because that's who I am. I'm very analytical. So I do examine and question things. But at the end of the day, the one thing that I do know is I know I'm his mom. I know I'm a good mom. I know that my children know that I'm a good mom. And I know that for whatever reason they made that decision to do whatever, that's what they're gonna do. You know, again, my husband, he actually called his stepmom mom to the point that it was actually funny because when I first met her, I actually thought that she was his biological mom because he said mom and dad. And then it was later on in a different conversation that I figured out, oh, that's his stepmom. Because guess what? That word never came up in the conversation. It was mom. And when I was over there with him and we were mingling, it was like, hey, mom, you got this, or hey, mom, you got that. And yes, son. So, and these were people, and it wasn't like he met her when he was young. This was like an older scenario when he was way older enough to know. But that's just what he decided to do. He decided to call her mom. He called his biological mom. So I think again, you know, it's the person and it's what they decide to do. We all are gonna do what's best for us. At the end of the day, what works for my house is not always gonna work for your house. I do totally understand his whole concept, his whole perspective. Totally get it. I know that me as a person will go through that emotional moment, but I also know me as a person that once I get past the emotional side of me, that somewhere in there I would accept it because that's a decision that for whatever reason my child has made. And that's not to say my child and I are not gonna have a conversation about okay, because who knows what moment I'm in that day. I might be like, now why you calling her mom? You know, did somebody tell you to do that, or are you doing like I'm gonna do the investigation? That's just what I do. But I think no matter what, I don't think it's disrespectful if it happens. We might not like it, might not agree with it, but I don't think it's a sign of showing disrespect or a sign of telling the biological dad, you're not my dad or you're not being a good dad. I don't think any of that comes into play with it. I think it's just a situation that happens is because we're all made differently. You know, we all have different opinions, different views. That's why we're unique. So I don't consider it disrespectful, but I definitely understand how he feels. I definitely validate his feelings because we're entitled to feel how we feel. Simple as that, plain and simple. But I don't think it's disrespect.
Gotcha. You know, I mean, we could, because so much is
We
running
could.
through my mind. And no, what I'm saying is because I mean I understand it. It becomes a complex thing. Like for instance, when I talk about my daddy, I say my daddy. I say my daddy. But again, I call my dad. I just call him by his first name. You follow what I'm saying? It was never corrected
Right.
one way or the other. Like, hey, now do it because I'm going to recognize my daddy as daddy. You get what I'm saying? If something
Right.
happened, let me call my pops. Oh yeah, my pops, because that's how folks already, talk to us. Like, say, man, I seen your pops at the grocery store. I'm never going to correct him and say, oh, but I call him Charles. No, that's what I call him. Yeah, that's my daddy. So I'm
Right.
not saying there's anything wrong with it. It's just funny how I do it. Yes, this is my pops. If I'm talking in yeah, man, me and my pops, we and my bro, we were just at the house. Of course, you know what I'm saying? But now when I'm
Right.
dressing him personally, like, hey Charles, man, I need you to come look at something. I already know that's my dad. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
I know that's just how I was raised, where it was like, whatever naturally works. Now, at the end of the day, is what I recognize him as. You follow what I'm saying? That's the important part of all of it. In any of these situations, what do you recognize this person as? Now, again, I can understand someone's frustration because let's be real. A mother is proud to be a mother.
Yes, most definitely.
Right? A father is proud to be a father.
Yes.
Okay? Those are titles no different than a woman that's proud to be a wife. And let some little child who is in a 5-year relationship try to compare herself to being a wife. You come on now. Let's be it because it comes with a certain level with it. Baby, how dare you think you on my level as a little girlfriend, and I've been married 7 years. I'm a wife. That's a different title. And so, I can get where that kind of that territorial side of it come in like, hell no, wait a minute. I don't care how he treats you. I'm daddy. And that's just basically what I'm saying is like at the end of the day, and secondly, that's a mature conversation because why would I ever put my kid's mother in a position to where when they hear my children talking to my significant other and they're being addressed mother and I haven't had that conversation with the mother? You see what I'm saying? That's just going to make more drama because that is a conversation that needs to be had amongst adults. Hey, listen, I don't know if you're going to feel some type of way about it, but this is what's going on. Just know I didn't force it. Right. I didn't make them to do it because again, we want to still have some sort of respect for, the parent. Listen, I might not get along with my kid's mama, with my children's mothers, but I still would not, unless you done put some work in, see you as mother. You get what I'm saying? Like now, that's something that you'll have to earn with them. That's a ton of work that's just gonna have to be put into place with that. And so again, with that being said, again, everybody's gonna have their own opinion about it. I just thought it was worth talking about because I do know there are a lot of people who are in what they call blended families, and we never have this conversation of, is it going to be acceptable for a non-biological parent to be called mother or father? Some people might feel the way I feel, some might not have the issue. But what I do know of a lot of women, I think more women have a problem with their child calling another woman mama. I birthed her. Y'all gonna go through that whole nine, the whole scenario. I'm the one that carried her 9 months, and I'm the one that breastfed her. All you doing is just doing her hair on the weekends and right. Listen, man, we gonna keep it moving. Again, thank everybody for tuning in, and we appreciate all the comments that are coming in. Shout out to my boy D.L. Patterson. Thank you for being involved in today's show. Much love to you. Before we keep it moving, let me plug a young lady. I am wearing her shirt, and it's from a young lady. Her name is Gifty Edwards, and she is the owner of Gift Keys Rock. Catch that. It's a play on her own name. Her name is Gifty Edwards, and she has a business called Gift Keys Rock. I'm wearing her shirt that says faith, and then at the bottom it says fear, and it's crossed out in red with red marks. So shout out to her. She sent it to me. She hit me up and said, hey man, I got something for you that's gonna be in the mail all the way from California to Texas. Also, if you guys are looking, so what she does is she makes what would you call jewelry from an engraved keys. Now, this is what she made and sent to me, and I'm sure you can't see the engraving, but this is a key that has Boss Hog on it, and of course I'm gonna wear anything that has Boss Hog on it. And so this is just like one of them. She has multiple collections of stuff, but what she's known for is engraving keys and implementing them or turning them into jewelry. And so I'm wearing my own personalized key. And you can go to a website, you can go to Facebook, and it's called Gift, like a gift, key as in keys, rock. ROC, Gift Keys Rock on social media. Again, thank you for today's t-shirt. Thank you for my customized key. I wear it with pride because I want folks to know I'm Boss Hog at the end of the day. So thank you so much for that. And now, as we get to the end of our show, we have one more story that we want to bring to you guys today. And I'm going to turn it over to my lovely host, Diamond. Talk to me. What we going to talk about?
So we're going to talk about this restaurant called Desi Vega that they had to apologize to a black couple who was profiled. Now, this couple went to go eat at what's supposed to be this nice restaurant, and when it was time for them to, and it was a seafood restaurant that served prime steaks and everything, and it was in New Orleans, in Louisiana. And so when it was time for them to pay their bill, the man noticed that they had already been added a 20% tip. So 20% gratuity was automatically added to their check. And you say, okay, a lot of restaurants do that. But most restaurants only do that when the party is, depending on the restaurant, the lowest number is usually 6 or more or 8 or more people that they automatically go ahead and add that gratuity in. Well, this was 2 people having dinner, a husband and a wife. Well, let's just say man and woman was having dinner.
Mm-hmm.
They already paid the check. Well, the guy asked, the waiter questions like, hey, I noticed there's a tip already added. Is this standard? So the man says, yes, it is. Well, the guy was like, he had been in the restaurant business. So he's like, okay, this don't sound right. So then he calls the manager over, and the manager proceeds to tell him that, yes, this is standard. We do this to everybody. Again, this don't sound right. This show money we talking about. So, of course, he decides to investigate. He has a few other friends that have been to the restaurant. So he reaches out to them, asking them, hey, did y'all have gratuity automatically added to your check for just 2 people? Their answer was no. Well, he notices a white couple that had already paid their bill that was at the restaurant when they were there. He asked them the same question, and guess what? The white couple did not have a 20% gratuity added to their check. So again, because they were African Americans, black, they were being racially profiled as in black people don't tip. So since I already know they not gonna tip, I'm gonna add my tip onto their check. Now the restaurant owner, once he was brought in, he apologized because he was like, this is not how we do business. This is not a custom. The waiter and the manager were suspended, but then the manager goes on to say that he only did it because the server asked him to do it, and then he stayed with the lie because he kept trying to cover up. So then, of course, my question comes into, and you're the manager, how does your subordinate tell you what to do when you're actually the boss on duty? How does your subordinate tell you what to do, especially when what your subordinate is telling you is something that is against company policies, rule, it's unethical, it's all of that. Why would you, as a manager, even go along with such a situation? Well, in my personal opinion, that means you're racist too, because you knew that the waiter had already racially profiled this couple, and you racially profiled them along with the waiter and said, oh, black people don't tip. Oh, because they're black, they're not going to tip. So that's what happened in this story. So let's go ahead and dig into it and talk more about it.
Well, it goes back to what I've just had to realize as an African American male and adult, is that we're going to always have to fight. Even when I found this story and I was reading some of the comments, there were so many people who have gone through this very situation. Hell, after reading the story, I had to start thinking back to automatic gratuity being added to help my bills. And we don't notice these type of things when it happens, because the truth is it didn't happen more than we pay attention to. We automatically assume that restaurants just add gratuity. But think about it. A gratuity is nothing more than a tip. Now, if you're looking at your receipt, it'll normally give you certain amounts in which if you're going to pay 20, this is what it's going to be. If you 15, this is what it's going to be. If it's 30, you just add it to it. Never have I went into a restaurant and actually seen a sign that said that we're going to automatically add a gratuity to your bill. Now I've had a restaurant to add a tip. Matter of fact, it was a Chili's here in Dallas, Texas that because I always check my accounts. You you go eat, and 9 times out of 10, you're not going to be charged until like that Monday. So for instance, if you went out to eat to dinner on a Saturday, yes, they will run your card, but it's not really going to be until Monday when you see it withdrawn. Just so happen, I'm looking at my bank account and I see that what my receipt was and what was actually deducted was totally different. Reached out to him. I said, hey, somebody added a tip, because what we did is the tip was in cash. I paid with card, but we did the tip in cash. So somebody took the money, the waiter took the money, then went to the actual bill, wrote a new tip on top of the cash tip. But again, I got the receipt. So we know what was given. Now, I'm not going to say in that case it was racially profiling other than somebody stealing. But again, just go back to think how many times have already been a gratuity has been added to your bill and you just never thought none of it. You paid it because okay, well, maybe this restaurant adds an automatic gratuity to the bill. Am I surprised? No. This didn't happen in the progressive part of the country. This happened in Louisiana. Louisiana is still Southern. It doesn't matter if it's white owned, in which if I'm sure this is a white ran business, and of course the owner might not have realized it. What I noticed from the story, it never talked about what color the waiter and the manager was. Normally, when you see race being held from a story, 9 times out of 10, they are white. Sometimes you can peep game and see within stories what's really going on. Because if they were black, they would say a black waiter, a black manager. When you see race has been excluded from a story, that means that 9 times out of 10, this was done by a white person. And so again, we just still in a fight. We have big fights in which we are trying to battle every day, and then we have small fights in this situation that we're trying to fight every day. And so thankfully it was rectified. It's good that they did suspend both the manager and the waiter. I'm not surprised, Diamond, by the response of the manager. I'm not surprised, because the truth is that, like you said, apparently the manager was okay with that practice being done, because he wanted his waiter to make sure he got a tip. What you finna say, Diamond?
No, I said you're right.
So, Dios goes on to say, it has happened to me at one place in Florida before. They added an 18% gratuity to my check, but I will say it was said in the receipt that it was added. I paid it because, one, I was drunk and was out with Kim early in our dating time. Well, of course you go pay that bill, Dio. Yes, of course. But again, we still have to recognize the game. And he said something in his comment that kind of promotes this practice of already automatically adding gratuity. DO said that they added 18% gratuity to my check, but I will say it was said in the receipt that it was added. The question though is, does it make it right?
Right.
Not only that, you would still then have to ask, let me look at a white couple and say, hey, can I see your receipt? Because if it is like I said, if it's a restaurant practice, that's one thing. It's another when, again, your profile. And that's why I said a lot of times we don't peep the game. Because the same thing, again, has happened to me. No, it didn't make it right. Right. Okay, cool. So that's what I'm saying. I've rarely went into a restaurant where there's public acknowledgement of a automatic gratuity. And I want you guys that are watching to think about that. In what restaurant have you ever went to that there's a sign on a menu or publicly where everybody can see it upon entering, where it says we add automatic gratuity? Now, because if that's the case, why am I then also leaving a tip? You see what I'm saying? If you are already automatically going to add a gratuity to my bill, what you're saying is I don't need to leave a tip, because you basically taking the tip from me to give to the waiter anyway. You go cash it out, pay him his little money, her money, and you go keep it moving. So again, I'm not surprised. We see these situations all the time. I don't think this would really have made headlines if the couple didn't have the sense to ask a white couple.
Exactly.
I don't think it would have made any traction at all. What's crazy is that, let's just think about how many men and women who have been done the same way who never thought nothing about it. Because again, thinking, oh, well, they just add gratuity anyway, so maybe that might be a common practice of the restaurant. I commend this couple for having enough common sense to say, well, wait a minute, we go to restaurants all the time. I've never just had gratuity added. So anything else, Diamond, you want to add to this story?
You know what? No, because that's absolutely true. I agree. I don't think had they not even investigated, it would have made an issue. And had they not asked a white couple, because actually when the article talked about he asked friends, they never said if the friends were black or white. But what they did highlight is when he asked the couple that was actually in the restaurant when they were going, who had just actually paid their ticket, that they were a white couple and they did not have the gratuity added on. And again, like you say, what restaurant have you actually been to that tells you that? The only sign I've had where they said we automatically add gratuity is when they telling you about the size of the party. For example, we add gratuity for parties of 6 or more, or we add gratuity for parties of 8 or more. But I've never seen it under those numbers where you're still automatically adding gratuity to a check. Because I'm like you, if that's what you're doing, then you're telling me don't leave a tip, and there's no reason for me to do it because you already did it. And then sometimes I feel like you don't know me. You don't know what I really was going to give you. I might have was going to give you a higher amount than what that percent that you so willingly decided to take from my account in the first place.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. I mean, we kind of already know when you go into a group, into any restaurant, they're going to add gratuity.
Right.
Again, that's normally company policy. That's going to be added. But again, just think about it. The people that are watching, just think about it. The next time you go out to eat, are they going to tell you, hey, we automatically add gratuity? Because the truth is, again, when they're doing that, they are telling you that you do not have to add on to the tip. We've already taken it from you. let me take my time out real quick to show some love to the people that show us love. And so, as the Petty Crew grow, as our following grow, um, I look at our numbers, over the month of our page and people who continually like and follow us, who join. And so, I first want to send a shout out to our top 5 cities. First and most, shout out to Dallas, Texas, our number one city. Shout out to Nigeria Logos. Yes, we are worldwide. Yes, we are cross country. Um, they are actually number 2 in supporting us. Shout out to Nairobi, Kenya. They are number 3. We are reaching our way to the motherland. They are showing us love on a monthly basis. So shout out. Yes, listen, little old me, little old Diamond, uh, somewhat, somewhat major. Yeah, we cross seas with this shit. And I love it because we are reaching our people. Shout out to Fort Worth, Texas. They are number 4. So DFW is definitely in the building, leading in number 1 and number 4. And shout out to the people of Chicago, Illinois. Those are the top 5 cities that show the Petty Crew love over a monthly basis. And so again, want to thank you guys, whoever y'all are, who go to the Petty Crew page, if it's watching the video, if it's watching our show, whatever it is, you are definitely making an impact and helping us grow. Now, to our top countries, shout out to the United States, wherever you are in the United States. Again, you are the bulk of our followers and everything. But behind the United States, shout out to Nigeria as a whole. They are number 2 in the country that support us. Shout out to Kenya. They are number 3. I love Yahweh from Dallas, Texas. Shout out to Ghana. So we reaching our people. We're doing exactly what I want to do at the end of the day. Hell, somebody here might not think we're about shit, but shout out to over there to them folks over there in the motherland of Africa that think we must be somebody to tune in on a monthly basis. And lastly, shout out to South Africa. Those are our top 5 countries. As they say, I'm grinning like what they call it.
A Cheshire cat.
So again, I want to thank our top 5 cities. I want to thank our top 5 countries for showing a brother love over a monthly basis. We're almost close to 6,000 likes, and this is just work over 3.5 years. Now, as far as followers, we're sitting at, I believe, 6,000 because likes and follows are a little bit different. And so we have more followers than likes, and I would rather have it that way anyway. So we had about 6,000 some followers to the Petty Crew page. Again, if you like what you hear and see, if you would like to be a guest on the show, please reach out via messenger. We would love to have guests on our show. Hopefully we will have the owner of Give Keys Rock on the show eventually. She is in California, and for you guys that don't know, that there is a big ass 2-hour time difference. So 2 o'clock here is what, 12 there.
Yeah.
And so we're gonna make it work. She was on one of our previous shows maybe a couple of years ago. She called in via phone to interview, but I would think that the people who watching would love to see this young lady's beautiful face. Before we get out of here, Diamond, any last words, and let everybody know where they can find you.
Hey, this is Diamond talking to you all the way from San Antonio, Texas. You can find me at Yolo's Expressions, where I make customized t-shirts, tumblers, jewelry, you name it. I pretty much customize it just for you and with your name. I'm on Instagram and Facebook at Yolo Expressions or Yolanda Diamond Jones.
Okay. I'm up here playing with my phone and damn clicked on the video.
I see you are.
My apologies, because I see people who are sharing the show. And so again, thanks to everybody that's sharing the show. But here's a little bit of fun before we get up out of here. And I just want to know your thoughts. Earlier, I posted a comment on Facebook that says, gas damn near $3 a gallon, and women still think we're coming over to just chill. Yeah, okay, play crazy. Uh,
I'm gonna play crazy.
with that being said, man, listen, you can find the Petty Crew on all your social media platforms. You can go to Facebook, The Petty Crew. Please go over to YouTube, subscribe on YouTube. We are trying to get our YouTube channel popping the same way we have it popping over on our Facebook page. So I want to have at least, I'm trying to reach at least 1,000 some subscribers. We're at, I believe, like 55. You know, we're slowly but surely getting there. But at the beginning of when I started this whole show, I could just kind of focus more on Facebook. So again, hence the reason why we have more followers on Facebook. But I'm trying to even that out across multiple platforms. You can go to Instagram, The Petty Crew. Follow us on Instagram if you're big and heavy on Instagram to keep up with what's going on with the Petty Crew. Some point later on, in as we get closer to summer, I will be announcing a date for the ice cream social, in which has become one of the staples or become one of the staples of the Petty Crew. A couple of years ago now, me and the good doctor, who's a former host of my show, we were at Brum's and we were going to get some ice cream. And I believe a couple ahead of us or right before us who was paid it forward by paying for our ice cream, whatever it was we got. So we thought it would be a great idea that we kept that going, and we eventually created something to call the Ice Cream Social, where we go back to that same Brums and we pay it forward to about 100 people. Um, um, they have the privilege of eating free ice cream. And so I will be announcing a date sometime this summer or early to give people advance notice. We do have a young lady all the way from San Antonio that said, hey, man, she would love to be a part of it. She would come in to enjoy some Brum ice cream. So we will be announcing that at some point. You'll get an opportunity to meet Diamond. She will be here as well. And so so we just plan on having some fun with that. With that being said, man, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Thank you for showing me some love. Thank you for showing Diamond some love. Follow us on all our platforms.